by such a substantial amount. In order to keep his budget in check, he had to look at ways, how can we do this without cutting a lot of staff? So what I believe one of the decisions that was made is that we have a little bit more walking patrol. Is that correct, Chief? You know,
1,000 miles, 50,000 miles a month, not 50 miles.
Where's the walk, she says she don't see a walking patrol.
What about the 10 people that you are less?
It's 7 positions that we did not fill,
7.
that or vacant that we didn't fill. And I'm getting back to the last, it's 1,000 miles a month, not 50 miles a month.
I just don't never see them on I'm on the road a lot in the daytime. I just see them in the parking lot, talking, at the high school, talking. I do see John Dale now,
That's something we can
and
do.
I see Chad.
I got my patrol captain right there.
Yeah, I know
We're
Greg.
taking notes on all this stuff we need to do.
Well, please, I mean, I think we're doing a good job, it's just, they're not visible as much as they should be.
Well, Joe, I want to tell you that I appreciate you a lot because every time I call them, they're there.
Any more questions?
I have one question on the budget about the building. I saw it went to 1.2 million. It was zero on the expenditure for buildings under the general fund. They adopted, it was zero on the adopted, what y'all working off of.
Are you on proposed or mid,
The proposed one's got 1.2 million down there, 1.19 million, and the adopted budget has nothing in there. I was wondering what that building budget was, why it increased from 0 to 1.2 million.
that's the technology center,
Oh, they're building a new building, is it?
technology center.
Okay. Okay.
That's the expense.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, if you look above that, you'll see on the intergovernmental, the 991, see, that was a match on the EDA, there was a match.
Okay, so that offsets the
Right.
expenditure. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it, thank you.
Good question. Okay, all right. Anybody got any other questions?
Ms. Wallace?
Oh, who?
I just have, I don't know
Sure.
a lot about budgets or anything, but I do have a concern about our hydro. I know that we have about 10 more years, don't we? I thought it was 2020. We're gonna have to come up with a lot of millions of dollars to invest back in that hydro. And I just wanna make sure, are we trying to say, and I know it's hard to right now, but do we have that in the future to start saving so that we will have that money? Because we can't borrow that money, I don't think.
Let
And if we
me
lose our
go-
hydro money,
Let me rest, that's going to commitment's going to expire, and we have an option to buy them. I don't want to get in that tonight, but it's going to be 2030, or 2030, between 2030 and 2032. Now, actually, beginning in 2021 or 20, our royalty is going to increase from where it's at now to almost 20%. And the town's going to see some big revenue. So anyway, that's really a positive in the next decade. That's going to be a real positive for us. But no, we do need to start looking to the future as we go forward. But good question, good concern.
I have one more.
Okay.
You know, we tend to, I think me included, tend to bring up what we think are our issues, our concerns. And this just is going to be a blanket question. What can we as citizens do? Is there anything concrete that we can do to not cost so much to live in this town?
I think you're doing the right thing, Gail. I think coming and being involved in the meetings, offering input. I also think making your home as energy efficient as you can, Again, I don't want to see us as a government, we shouldn't be finding ways to grow our government. And I don't want to do that because that means somebody's got to pay for it. And I'm against that. I'm against bigger government, I'll be honest with you. But you're doing what you're being engaged. You're showing up, you're concerned. And your questions are noted, and anything that we can do, we take under advisement, and take it back and talk about it. And again, I do at some point want to establish town meetings where we can sit down there with y'all and talk about these things. What to do during an emergency, what to do if this happens, where do you go, who do you call, those things. We are here to serve you, to provide these services. And I appreciate you asking, what can you do? Thank you.
Alderman McCoy mentioned the people with no voice, no face. And you've mentioned twice about their homes and poor insulation. So they're not gonna get any insulation. They're not gonna do any home improvement because they don't have the money to do that. I can tell you from my, looking at my mother and the money that she gets, she could not survive to the type of lifestyle that she's accustomed to without my assistance. But when you go around at the Christmas holidays, when the sheriff's department is issuing his food out, and you see these older people who are either too cold or their houses are just falling apart, what can we do as a city to assist them? Because they have no one, because if they did, they wouldn't have those lifestyles. They can't, if they pay their utility bill, they can't buy their grocery and medicine. So they have choices that they have to make. That's not always the best thing for them. I can't do installation, but we as citizens and the city need to find a way to assist a little bit more.
We took some steps a couple of years ago.
You did,
And
fix them out.
what we did, we partnered with JTPA, LaSalle Community Action, and we targeted some homes, and it was everybody likes to say cooperative endeavor. We went and found some people to do some things that we needed done. And just like tonight, the important thing is by you saying what you said, you know, just allowing suffering to speak sometime. And, you know, coming from me, people might take it one way, but coming from somebody that sees what I see, that lives where I live.
Handicap that are suffering.
Yeah, we came up with a triad program. We had a chief that took credit for that, but we came up with that up here because we wanted somebody in the house of the elderly that could report on the elderly's health. And we have an officer or two that goes from house to house to check on. She has a list that she checks on these senior citizens daily or every other day or based on their needs. And it'd be pretty hard to find that service. I don't know another town I don't know of another town, city that's doing something that's as proactive as that to assist our senior citizens. We have people that go and get the commodities for the senior citizens. They wear blue uniforms though, you know, they have to help with that. Those police that are underpaid, that lady back there was talking about. And in all this discussion that we're having tonight, by nature, each one of us, we're gonna defend our department. And I'm sickened that it happened that way, that we've all gotten kind of adversarial, protecting this and protecting this and talking. I'm pro-police, but I got Mark and the guys. And I listened to the questions about police, and I know why they take the cars home. I don't know why they park side by side, sitting there talking all the time, and I think that's a rare, I don't think that's as big of a problem as not seeing an officer in your neighborhood at all. When I listen on my radio and I don't hear them calling in zone checks, that troubles me. And the answer, what can we do? Allow suffering to speak. Let people like you, like this lady right here, she's very engaged in what's going on with the city. And there's gonna be some changes made based on what you all have said tonight. And it ain't about these numbers. Half of y'all couldn't see them. Most of you don't give a doggone about them. You're really concerned about, that's what I'm talking about. You're really concerned about the quality of life that you're gonna have in this city. That's what's really going on, the quality of life that you're gonna have living here today.
But how can you justify a fireman, a policeman who sacrifice, well, possibly sacrificing their life?
No, they do. It is a sacrifice to put that uniform on.
Sacrifice, and then look at the family who's gonna suffer when they lose their loved one, and they're making $10 or $13 an hour.
It is a sacrifice just to put the uniform on.
But that's not right.
No. But
You got
That's
people
my
at
research,
Burger
that's
King
what I
make more than $10 an hour.
What now?
Some people at some Burger Kings make more than $10 an hour.
But they're not EMT trained.
But
They're not certified by firefighters and all
What
that.
she's saying is they're not.
I know, that's why I'm agreeing with them.
and again, by allowing suffering to speak, and me speaking on behalf of the fire department, see, I'm real familiar with one of those fires that you're not 100% sure whether the guy that's got the uniform on, whether he's got what it takes to fight that fire, whether he's a little nervous about going in there when you tell him that your grandmother's in there. And all you gotta do is just go right there. And, maybe he wasn't trained enough that night. Maybe that night, that particular guy wasn't good enough to do that job. So what we did, we stepped the game up, we got us a good fire chief, and made sure that these people are well-trained, well-qualified.
And I'll say,
And maybe somebody else won't lose their grandmother in a house fire because that guy in that uniform doesn't have what it takes to do the job. He's just there for that check. So again, allowing suffering to speak, change is gonna happen because of that. By you saying what you said, and by this lady and her husband being engaged, my friend back there, she's always engaged. She sees and knows what's going on, and she has her perspective of what happens, and I don't know that we agree 100%, but we okay. We okay. These issues that we're talking about tonight, we still hadn't done what we came here to do an hour or so ago. And that's what we're gonna vote to approve this budget. I promise you they worked hard on getting this piece of paper together. Getting the budget right. My issue is the people. If we got the numbers right, where the checks and balances are in place, and everything as far as running the city is good, and I still got people suffering in my district, do you actually think they care about this budget? Do you think that the nameless and faceless people, the people who couldn't come or didn't come up here tonight, do you think they care about this tonight? They're worried about can they keep their heater on because it's a little cold and what their bill's gonna look like week after next.
But the problem is they're not turning the heat on because they know they can't pay the bill at the end of the month. Then they become sick. Then they can't get the medicine they need because they still worried about the bill that's coming at the end of the month.
And I'm the only somebody that mentioned poor people. I think I heard, Alderman Probst mention the poor people. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works in the have, not a lot category. You know, that's exactly how it works. You gotta choose between your utility bill, your medicine, you know, life decisions every day. And they ain't concerned about us up here talking about the budget tonight, trust me.
Okay. More questions? Any more questions? We're gonna have to reserve some time for the Alderman to have their,
This Alderman is through for the night. I'm done. You're welcome.
if there's not any more questions from the public, can I have a motion that we close the public hearing?
Make a motion.
I second.
Second, all in favor? All right, public comment section's over with, and what I'd like to do is, as we go, I'll allow each alderman, if they want to, is to have their comments in relation to the budget. And they can direct questions if they like, pertaining to the budget. And after that, we will ask for a motion to approve or not adopt, so. Who wants to go first?
John said I wouldn't lie to.
John said ladies first.
Where you want to start?
Start in the middle, you always start on either end. Give them a chance to go first.
Go ahead.
All right, someone had mentioned the hydro plan, the hydroelectric plan, and I did have some questions about that, some of which you touched on. In your opinion, Mayor, do you think that it would be beneficial for our town to purchase the hydro plan?
So, just a real quick question on that. That is an answer that I don't think is even remotely been able to answer, and I'm gonna explain why. Because if you read through the contract, when the plant does, that contract expires, we can buy the plant for $1. However, you also buy the liability with it. If the people who are operating that plant, let's say they have to do a complete overhaul, and they go in and actually have to rebuild those turbines and things, that cost could run up into millions and millions of dollars that you will assume with that $1. So it's really a hard question to answer. You know, I think that's gonna be something that we will need to, that whoever is the mayor in around 2025, starting then, will need to start addressing and looking at, and now, in my opinion, when you start getting close to that, you know, looking at that, you should start looking at then trying to maybe work a new deal that takes you out of having to buy that and take on the responsibility of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And that's my personal feeling. But to be able to talk what's going to be around in 2030, I just don't know if I would even, because it would be a guess.
Well, my reason in asking you that question is, you know, when we're looking at your proposed budget, and we're looking at the total revenues versus the total expenditures, when you remove that loan amount of $2,334,750,
It's $2 million.
oh, just flat $2 million, okay. So when you remove that amount, we're only about $303,000 in the black.
355,000. You're right. This is an operating budget, operating, okay? Now, again, now, this is just to operate.
Okay, so my point is, your goal with this budget was simply to get us in the black. It was not in any way to perhaps have a more favorable outcome in that net position, that fund balancing. It wasn't to start setting aside for future projects and plans. It wasn't to start cutting back a little bit more in our expenditures.
That is a plan, but right now with these projects ongoing, or finishing up the IT center, also, we got, right now, because the budget we're not in compliance because you you don't have the income to support the expenses that we've been approved to spend. We're not gonna spend it, y'all, just because we're approved. That's what I'm saying, even if they don't approve this budget tonight, I'm not gonna spend, and I've told the departments, look, you be diligent and don't spend money unless you have to. Just, a budget is a guide. Now, state statute requires you get with a certain percentage of what you budget and what you spend. But then again, as we get closer, we will amend it. I hope it's gonna be less. I do. I hope it's gonna be less. So, that being said, we've got to operate, because now, I can't just go out there and wave my wand and say, we're gonna buy this, and without approval. And that would involve y'all and also the public being involved in it.
With regards to, total salaries citywide, there was an article published in 2012 by the Natchez Democrat that I referred to for one reason only. But within that article, the total salary citywide in 2012 was $5.9 million with 181 employees. Salaries citywide, based on your proposed budget, is $6.6 million with 166. Are those numbers hold true with the paperwork we have here today?
What you say?
Total salaries and wages citywide, $6.6 million.
Where you get salaries and total benefits right now?
No, I'm talking about benefits, salaries.
Well, that's right. I'll have to go in. This is tough. All I can tell you is what was spent last year, and after the cuts we made, we're saving 1.1 million total salaries and benefits year one. 1.1 million overall.
In those figures from 2012 to 2017, there's an increase of 11%. There is a 22% increase in the positions of the city manager and the mayor. In 2012, the town had a city manager who also acted as the accountant. His pay and the mayor's pay total was $187,000. In your proposed budget, we've added the city manager position back to the town. He was released of his duties, and when that happened, the mayor at the time asked for an increase, and he was granted it because his duties had increased since there was no longer a city manager. With the three positions being filled now by three separate people, we have a total of $229,000, which is an increase of $42,000 or 22%. So in those years, from 2012 to 2017, citywide, there was an increase of 11%. But in those three key positions, there is an increase of 22%. And the standard cost of, considering 2% cost of living increase each of those 5 years, the increase should only be $18,700, and we have a $42,000 increase in those three positions.
And we also have three positions. That's why our town was in the shape it was. They couldn't control the finances. Now I've got to keep people in place that can do the business of the town and make sure when they go to bed at night that their finances are being handled. That was the problem. You had accountants coming in who weren't doing their job. You had Bill, city manager, Hiram had an administrative assistant who stayed down at the you call it what you want to, who wasn't engaged in the everyday operation of the town. This man right here has done incredible work. You wouldn't believe the work that's been going into making sure, looking at contracts, leases, we've done all this. It's a big thing that unless you sit there all day and look at what we actually go through, I promise you this. Those jobs, without them, I couldn't do what we're doing. And also, you would put the town at risk for misappropriation of your money. And that's one of the things that I ran on, that we were going to be accountable for the money, But if you don't have people in place to be accountable and set up controls, okay, open the door, you fixing to, we're talking about a $30-something million budget. One or two people can't do it.
Now, I do not propose that anyone be relieved of their position, but would you consider an 11% reduction to be spread among those three people to bring it more in line with the overall salary increase in those same 5 years?
I guess I'm not understanding. Well, when Scott called me in May, maybe, Scott called me in May and reached out to me. Mayor Copeland was pulling his hair out. He lost his accountant. There was no accountant for the town. And he was telling, he was in a predicament because, you know, the mayor at the time couldn't get anybody because they wouldn't have any kind of assurance that, you know, the new incoming mayor, myself, would accept them. And he said we only had one person last time the previous accountant was hired. And I said, who was that? And they said, Deborah Moak. I said, hire her today. And I'm telling you, we are blessed to have her. You can't get a certified public accountant for beans. You've got to pay them. And they are worth their money. And she's worth more than what she's even getting. And she could do better. And she takes her job serious, as we all do. And I know y'all are taking your responsibility serious. We deal with this every day. I mean, and it's just amazing to see it work. We have a great team for your town assembled. Rest assured, we've got your best interest at heart because we do want to get it down to where that is our goal. And again, it's going to take time. Now we feel like we can start giving y'all the information you deserve and need to make decisions monthly. But it's been a process getting to that point. So I hope I've answered a little bit about you can't just get people for nothing. Not good, qualified, educated, certified.
I don't think that question was.
I don't think it was ever asked me. She asked you, would you consider taking 11% reduction is all she asked you. She didn't need
It was
to
Deborah
fix
Douglas.
the
She does a
floor,
great job.
all the admin.
And I
she
never
did.
intended in any way to.
I just want a simple
You're
yes or
saying-
no.
You're saying reduce the amount that these.
A yes or no answer. That's all he was looking
Should we
for.
reduce 11% for these people that's in place? No.
So you're not willing to proceed with her request for a reduction in the budget at that point, with that particular item?
With these positions?
I'm just asking. I'm asking you're not willing to
Okay.
amend the budget. That's what I'm asking you with her question.
Are you not saying those two positions?
Three,
Three.
yours included.
Mine included? No.
The proposed budget for the administration department is $428,000, and a spreadsheet provided to me by the city accountant. The proposed actuals for admin if changes are not immediately made will be $555,000. We will have a deficit of $127,000.
Say that again, I'm sorry, I didn't follow.
On the spreadsheet that you provided to me showing the actual revenues, this one? This one? It shows on here that the budgeted amount for administration is $428,000. It is my understanding that the projected actual that is reflected here will be what will occur at year end if changes are not made. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
That shows a deficit, meaning we will actually spend more in salaries.
But that's overall, if you look, because we talked about that, and it shows you overall, the salaries, you know, we're not that far off from what we had budgeted, where we projected it to be like maybe 20,000 overall, 16,000 to be exact. But between the departments, yes, this is true for the admin. It could be that it is under budgeted here, but in another department, it's gonna be over budgeted, so it works itself out overall.
It works itself out if we have another department that picks up the slack.
Right.
But it won't work for this actual budget that is being proposed, the administration department could possibly overspend its budget by $127,000 in salaries. Is that
Yeah,
statement
but it's-
true?
It could be, yeah, it could be. But it could be in another department understated by the same or more amount, because the budgeted numbers were not done exactly correct at the time. We did the best we could at that particular point in time. Then we did a little more detailed work and determined that there, the budgeted items were a little bit off in each department, but overall, they were right on target.
$127,000 to me is not a little off.
16,000 overall. I mean, the budget's not perfect,
Of course.
but it's overall is what we're looking at the picture to see where we'll end up.
But again, it's a guide.
Yes.
Deborah, does that have anything to do with reclassifying any employees?
It could have been at the
I don't
time
know.
when I was doing the budget, it could have been, I can't say because we've worked on it since.
What they're saying, when we started this budget process, there were people, for example,
I had that problem in my department.
we had people who were not classified right, so that's why I'm not really on this, because we had to go in and reclassify people, which showed the way they were classified, and I'm trying to think who I can use for an example.
You can use my department for it.
Well, there were some people who were in street department who were classified as street, but they should have been in sanitation and vice versa. There were people who were classified at, whatever, it could have been the city hall that was under utility department and vice versa. We had to go in and completely reclassify people where they actually were and what they actually did. So therefore, what it looks like from the previous year to the next, oh, well, you spending more than that one. No, we moved two people that should have been in, their salary should have been in. But like Ms. Moak said, well, it's gonna be a decrease in another one because you moved them in their proper perspective. At the end of the day, we're saving $1.1 million in payroll and benefits. 1.1 million. And doing the work of the town.
Going back to the 2012 to 2017 comparison, our town had a city clerk and assistant city clerk who also had the responsibility of city hall office manager with a total salary of $126,000. In today's proposed budget, the city clerk and assistant city clerk, who does not also have the city hall office manager position, have a total salary of $130,000, which is only, the assistant city clerk in 2012 had the responsibility of two positions and made only $6,500 more than the current. Would you consider a pay reduction since it's his first year in this position?
No.
Would not consider. Okay. Also in the admin budget, we have a full-time secretary from the Concordia Chamber of Commerce who is also employed by our town under the administration. Check stub reflects website maintenance, but it's been stated that she serves as a secretary for the Port Commission 2 days a week. This employee receives benefits and has an annual salary of about $16,000. Another secretary hired by the city of Vidalia to work at the chamber was relieved of her position. Can you explain why this person was allowed to stay?
She was a director.
The director of?
Well, she worked for the port director, his direction. In those other days, it was an agreement that they had at that point with the chamber to employ her, and they share her expense.
And if we paid the Port Commission $60,000 a year per their contract, is that correct?
That's correct.
Would you consider allowing that $60,000 contract, allowing them to fund their own secretary?
I'll let Mr. Gilfall answer that. That was an agreement that was made. I'm sure there's an agreement in place of town doing that.
The original contract is between, the town and the Lake College Port Commission. It did not include a secretarial position.
So there's not an agreement in place, is what you're saying?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there may be, but it's not one that I know about.
But as far as you know, at this point, there is no agreement. That's one, I think, Bill, you were checking into agreements. Have you checked into that particular, do you need more time to check into that agreement?
Have you asked me that, what, at 4 o'clock this afternoon?
No, I'm talking about this agreement. No, I'm not talking about the other, I'm
No,
talking about.
you asked me about that this afternoon, yeah, we are.
Did I
gonna-
ask you about, I didn't ask you about that.
Yeah, you did.
Not the port, I didn't ask anything about the port.
Okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. You may have somebody else call, I didn't ask you
I will,
about that.
I will check into that.
I mean, that's just something that maybe you could look into as
I will
far as
definitely.
agreements. You know, we said in the meeting Tuesday night, that was a project you had of looking into agreements and.
Oh, yeah.
And all
Oh, yeah,
that. And that's
absolutely.
just one you may not have got.
Well, and let me say, no, it's not that. Let me say that we still don't know where all the contracts and agreements are.
Right.
And we still haven't been provided with all the contracts and agreements. That to my knowledge. We've asked for them, but we haven't got leases, contracts, and agreements. So we're still endeavoring to persevere, as they say.
Right.
But yes, I will make that one of the priority top stacks. Since y'all are asking about it, I'll get that and get you the information.
If a contract is not found, would we be under any obligation to continue what we thought was a contractual agreement?
She wasn't left because there was an agreement. That was a position that was in place and it was serving a function, and that would be at y'all's pleasure what you want to do on that.
Now, I don't know what you mean. That's a personnel issue. isn't it?
I-
We wouldn't be doing anything with that, but that's your decision. That's personnel. We don't live in personnel whatsoever.
Well, right now.
Not at all.
that was-
That's not our body.
That was an agreement that was in place, and that was one that I've honored to this point.
So you're not willing to do it if there's no agreement, you're gonna leave her as is? Is that your answer?
I can't answer that at this point.
I'm saying, but if there's no agreement in place, are you gonna still leave this in place since there's no
Considered
agreement?
an employee of the town at this point. But if there's, and I'll have to check with Bill's been checking into the agreements that we've got with the Chamber of Commerce. That's something we've been checking at y'all's direction, the relationship that we have with the Chamber, and, that's something we'll have to consider in the future. Y'all want to continue going on with that whole arrangement with the.
But that's not our decision, that's your decision. We don't deal with
No,
personnel.
I'm talking about the arrendment with the Chamber.
What is the
Which
arrangement?
if there's no arrangement, there's not an arrangement, is what she's saying, basically.
We don't know, okay.
Don't know.
We are in the process of setting up a meeting right now. Bo's here, we talked tonight. We talked earlier in the week on the telephone in order to get things squared away with the chamber, with the building, with the whole relationship. By the way, we're meeting tomorrow with Hydro Partners, so it's an ongoing, that's why we keep saying it's an ongoing process.
Okay. In the fiscal year 2016-17, 7 months into it was the time I got these calculations. The average overtime per month is $40,000. I know some of that overtime is required by state statute. Some of it is required due to on-call. But there's a lot of people, as I was looking down that list, who are not employed in those positions who are netting substantial overtime. Would you consider reworking the scheduling a little bit so as not to include 9-hour days guaranteeing 1 hour per day at minimum of overtime for each employee?
I would be glad to do that. That's something we should do. We're addressing that because it was done in the past. It kind of sets precedent, and I haven't really taken a hard rule on that yet. We're in the process of presenting a new employee handbook that hasn't been updated since 1992. And what we run into every time we start to do things, they say, well, I was promised that I could have this overtime and I could count on that pay. And rather than put the town in a liability of being sued because of something somebody was promised, we're going to modify the personnel manual, and as soon as we do, we will set those parameters for overtime and so forth. That's how we're going to handle it.
I think a better question would be, could our guys that do those positions, could you do it in less department heads again.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Being a city employee, we do turn on some stuff at 4:30, we close at 4:30. Somebody comes up here at 4 o'clock and wants their stuff turned on. If we work an 8-hour day, that, your city services are not, there for all those people. With the policemen, if they don't get any overtime, the garbage people, if they work on Christmas, everybody's talking about cutting, but just think about what y'all have here in the city. We're all spoiled a little bit. I live in town today, and you think about the people that work here, sure, you could cut their pay, or you could, cut your services, but then, a lot of times I go and I turn somebody on and they say, man, 15 minutes, that's unheard of. Because at Energy, you got 2 days to 2 weeks before they turn in. We turn them on in 15 minutes. That's service. And we always get commended on that, whether it's the garbage people, electrical people. When your utilities go out at night and they get out of their bed and they come up here in the rain. Think about that.
And I do, and I in no
I'm
way,
not just talking to you, I'm talking to everybody.
no, I know, but I would like to respond. I don't in any way mean to
Right,
say
I
that
mean,
you're
but-
not doing a great job.
No,
When
no, no,
when
that's not
I
what I'm
look
saying.
at this budget, however,
Right.
I'm looking at $40,000 a
Well,
month in overtime.
That's true. But,
That's excessive.
well, if you got to do that, then you're gonna cut your services somewhere down the line.
I don't need Christmas pickup.
Well, that's, but you think about what the garbage guys make. Y'all said that the police were the lowest. No, they're not. The garbage people that's out in the cold and the rain, and you've got a sign on your wall up there that says, tell them what it says.
The sign on my wall says, to the city workers who service our home, we thank you for everything you do,
Right.
the Dore family.
Right.
And I
That's
stand
true,
behind
and I
that.
believe it. That made us
every day.
feel good when they go by there. And I just wanted, I'm not talking directly to you, I just want to, everybody, wants good service, and you got to,
Now, go ahead, when you finish, Alderman Probst wants to be recognized.
I'm through.
Okay, that's all well and good, but you said you cut those people on at what time?
Within 10,
I mean, you
15
say you
minutes.
cut them on at 4:30, 5 o'clock?
Oh, yeah, some people.
And why do you operate outside the operation of the city just to turn somebody's utilities on when you had all day? And again, what Alderman Dore said at that point, why don't you schedule people, if you need somebody to turn them on.
Okay, can I
And again, let me finish what I'm saying, 'cause I want to reiterate what, and again, that's well and good, but we operate within an operational time. We have to
Okay.
set our schedules at that. We also hire on for a job that is paid to us. If a garbage man's out there doing his job, that's his job. That's what he chooses
Well,
to do. If
yeah.
a fireman goes in and goes into a burning building, that's what he chooses to do. And guess what? He's compensated for that. He's not, you never said, this is overtime we're talking about.
Right.
What is overtime considered? What is overtime?
Okay, overtime for us. is-
No, I'm just saying, how do you define overtime?
How do you find overtime?
For everybody, whoever it may be.
Okay, overtime is defined that when I got here, that's what was in place, okay?
But that's past, you mean?
Yes, okay, in the handbook right now, it says 9 hours overtime, okay? You come in, Mark and them come in at 6 o'clock, they leave at 4 o'clock, right?
Right,
Okay, you get an hour for dinner,
yeah.
that's 9 hours, okay? And this lady works at the counter in City Hall, okay? Suppose, which this happened last week, and I'm gonna just, if she would, I'm gonna let her tell you how this happens. How did,
If someone comes in, my question would be to you, if someone comes into this city and we want people to come into the city at 4:30 in the afternoon, when we're getting ready to close, are we to turn them away?
No, I
And
mean,
say
but
that
you
we-
also operate within, that's what we're spoiled, like you said, but you operate within a window of operation. That's where you're at, and
Okay,
every
but that service will
entity
be
has an
if we
operational
turn-
window.
If we do not turn them away,
I'm not saying turn them on, but you can tell them we will turn them on first thing in the morning.
Again now, you all, let's don't lose focus. I said just a few minutes ago, if you allow suffering to speak, let's put this in its proper context. Suppose grandmother just did get that money together, and it was a little bit after hours, or it was real close, where she could get somebody to bring her up here to pay that high utility bill, and it was just a hair past the time. See, those people don't care about operational
I agree with you
time.
on that.
See, when you
I
got
agree,
problems, you
we're
don't
talking
care
about-
about operational
But I
time.
want to say one thing, John, if I can.
Okay.
We're looking at over $500,000 worth of overtime that doesn't just turn on. $500,000 worth of overtime last year.
And to be honest with you, I'm speaking about regularly scheduled
And I'm talking about,
daily
yeah,
overtime
day-to-day
built
overtime.
into the schedule, is
I'm
what
not
I'm
talking
speaking
about
about.
special, and that's why I said how
I'm
you
not
define
speaking about if you
overtime.
stay late,
Well,
because I understand that. There are
right.
times I stay at my office till 8 o'clock, because I want to service a customer,
Well,
because I
don't-
feel the same way that you do.
Don't worry, Sabrina.
But I'm talking about regularly scheduled
The
overtime
mayor,
built.
the mayor plans to kill that completely.
Okay, that's all we want to know.
He plans to kill that
appreciate
completely.
what y'all do. Thank you.
And we do too.
Well, I mean, that's why we're here.
I got some, I need to address you, sir.
Okay.
I'm at home, taking care of my daily operation with my mom and me, who's in a wheelchair.
Right.
A limb falls from the tree. That don't have nothing to do with me.
No.
That's a good Lord tree and it fell. Pulled down my power line. Pulled the power out of my house. Flood my garage and destroys my hot water heater too. I have to call the city because I don't know what to do. My mother is panicking, 81 years old. It's cold. I called the city, the fire trucks showed up, the police department showed up, and the utility people. I had to install a new line, and I don't know all the terminology really. Then I had to come up to code. I had to come up here and get a permit. Then I had to get it inspected. I had until 4 o'clock, they say, to get all that done if I wanted my power back. I'm not gonna have my mother in a strange person's house and taking her out of her comfort zone just because of your concern for overtime.
Okay.
I asked them, what can I have done so that I can get my mother back home tonight? So that she have peace of mind. I'm the voice, I'm the face for that 81-year-old woman.
Right.
And I do whatever it takes to make it happen. And I was appreciative of the fire department for showing up, getting the vac to get the water that was up to my ankles out of my garage. They didn't have to do that. But that's because they care. I was appreciative of the people who the city called out to come in overtime and turn my lights back on so that we could be okay. So sometimes put yourself in the place of the person without the voice or without the face, because it could be somebody that you love that needs that same attention.
Okay, well, can I respond now?
Then
Because
you
you must
just
have,
wanna
you
get ready.
misunderstood what I was saying. I don't say cut all overtime. I asked him, what is overtime defined as? I've got on my notes right here. I agree, call outs. We must provide water, sewage, gas, and electric. No matter what it costs us, we're gonna spend that money, whatever it is.
And protection. We
And
must keep these
protection,
people
and
protected.
fire, and all those things, but when you go into, let me ask you, if you would, this is where I'm going with mine. In our street and sanitation department, Robert, do you know how much how much overtime is invested in street and sanitation? Because that's your department, because I've done investigation, because I found out that was the worst of all departments. Street and sanitation was the worst overtime rate of any department. And I don't know that they have call outs. They have some if they have to dig a hole or something, or if they have to pull a tree off of something, or a backhoe or something, they have call out. They have some.
It's kind of the wrong department, right?
Huh?
The digging a hole and all that.
I don't know who does
That
that.
would-
That sewage or?
That would be Mark and those.
Right, okay, I didn't know, but But street and sanitation is garbage pickup and what else? Because I don't know, Robert, what is street and sanitation?
You asking a question that you don't know, buddy.
What do you mean I don't know?
You asked a question, it was reverted to, the water department, but.
I didn't, but I'm saying, he said that was the wrong department. I don't know if that's
So
right. I just asked
as
him.
far as it goes with the, I don't know by heart, no, I don't, but I do look over the figures. I do know that I have met day to day, on a day-to-day basis, the mayor can attest, and several other people that work here can attest. I'm here 2 or 3 days out the week. So if I don't memorize all the numbers, in fact, like you may have done, and you're not up here to find out what's going on verbatimly like I have come.
I'm asking
It's
you,
not
I'm
like-
not involved in your department. I'm asking you.
No, everything's good. Exactly, let me talk. So, I come up here, I meet with my department personnel, my head, I find out what's going on. I don't know the other departments and seek to find out what my department, that I'm not over, other departments that I'm not over is doing wrong, because that's the department that you wanna be over. So as far as the budget is concerned, as far as anything goes, yeah, you asked me earlier before we sat down about $250,000 that had been proposed for an increase in my budget. And I told you, I said, that's your answer. And the reason for that was because when we sat down and I met with Deborah, the mayor, and Lee, different people were put in different spots. So there's gonna show an increase because they're in the appropriate position and title that they're having. But as far as prior to Lee,
The overtime in the street department is through our mosquito abatement program. I mean, that's 6 hours a week. I mean, if y'all wanna cut that out, you know.
I don't know, but that, see, I'm asking Lee, and
That's what it
again, I'm not questioning, because I just came to the realization of worst department, because as I talked, Bill, did I address you about overtime as soon as I came in office?
Yes.
Buzz, did I address you
I
about
mean, with the
overtime?
reason that we are the
So that
highest,
was one of the things I was
highest
looking at.
department in overtime is because we run a mosquito abatement program and we have to run it after hours.
Okay.
So that is the reason why we have the most
Okay,
overtime.
who does that?
I am the superintendent over the department. I'm also the director over the mosquito abatement program. I'm certified in 8A and general pesticides. Keep my certification up. I spray because I am certified under my license, not the city of Vidalia. So if I'm going to be certified, we're going to be spraying under my license. I'm going to be part of the abatement program. Jimmy Isabel is also the other guy that's certified in general only. I sent him to school for his mosquito, but we didn't get that taken care of.
Right.
But anyway, he sprays under my license, not the city's license, my license.
So that was my next question, who takes your spot when you're off?
Jimmy Isabel.
He is legally, he's spraying legally under your license. as far as-
He can legally spray under my license as long as I know what he's doing, what he's spraying, and how he's spraying.
Well, that's the question, I'm just asking for an explanation.
That's the
why
reason that we
department,
have-
Because I don't see call-outs, and I don't see those things.
Well, we do
And
a
I
lot of
just
call-outs
asked
also.
the question, tell me
We
what
do,
it's about.
anytime it rains, we get calls on, Apple Street, we get calls on John Dale Drive, we get calls all over Vidalia for flooding because of the canal situation, and that's a different issue altogether. But the reason, I'm just explaining, the reason that we have high overtime in the street department is for our mosquito abatement program.
See, the reason you weren't at the meeting with all the
Well,
other, see, now
I
you weren't
was in
able to be
Baton
there.
Rouge
I know,
getting my
you weren't- That's why I
recertification
couldn't get that
for
answer.
that.
Because you weren't, we had that budget meeting, but I didn't get that.
And I sent a text to the mayor, and I apologize, I told him to read the text. I apologize, I could not be at the meeting because I was getting recertified. I had to do that
That
for
was
you.
just one question I wanted to ask about the street department.
That's,
I would like to just make comment, we're, not in public comment, if all have questions of the department heads, I want that debate to be within those questions of the department heads. So just going forward, I'm trying to get through this, we're in almost 2 hours, so I want to try to cover everything that needs to be covered, but give everybody a chance to say something.
Okay. I had several employees from several different departments citywide mention the unfair pay scales within the city. The main department which is being complained about is within the street department, specifically within beautification and inmate pre-supervisor. We have 9 employees with pay ranging from $9.83 an hour to $19.67 per hour. We have a person in this position who has been with the city for 12 years who is earning $11.53 per hour. We have someone who has been with the city for less than one earning $18 an hour. The most recent hire prior to our administration was July the 20th of 2015. That person is currently making $11.30 per hour. 3 people were transitioned into this genre, into this department. One of those who transitioned, it was considered a lateral move. He was moved from a previous position into this one, did not have a pay change. He is making $19.67 an hour. One of the 3 is making, again, $18 an hour. He was a complete new hire with no previous city role. And we have one that was transitioned over into this position in the winter of 2016, I'm not sure of the date, at $17.91 an hour. Again, he had another role in the city, considered a lateral move, switched into a new position with no change in pay. By my calculations, the most recent hire prior to these moves is somewhere around $11.30 an hour. So if the new starting pay is $18 an hour, pardon? No, what I mean is the most recent hire, new hire, July 20th of 2015, starting pay was $11.30 an hour. So I would assume that the starting pay should be $11.30 an hour for this position. But if the starting pay has been changed to $18 an hour, some of these men feel that they should at least match the starting pay, which our budget will not allow for that. So would you consider a decrease in those 3 positions, assuming that, you know, if these were people you moved into these roles because either you vacated the position that they otherwise held or for any other reason, the question should have been, listen, I want you to stay with the city, I have a position available, but the starting rate of pay for this position is $11.30 per hour. Because when you, regardless of seniority, regardless of the man who's been here for 12 years, if a new guy comes in making substantially more than him, the man with the most rate of pay assumes the role of being the highest in that position. And these were statements made to me by your employees. I'm just kind of curious how those figures were derived within those positions.
Well, it was a different position, and I knew this person, and I had confidence in his ability to do it, and I feel like to get him, I had to pay that. He had a job, and that's what I started in that. And I'm very, and I will do it again, because the work they're doing is pretty phenomenal, I think, to our town. So,
Is creating new positions under part of your authority, man?
yes, it is.
Or is that not function of the board?
No,
The board does not have to be involved in creating new
no.
positions?
The board is if there's a new department created, the board would be involved in it.
What's beautification?
Hmm?
In beautification in the department?
No. He's doing things that would be considered beautification. He's under street and sanitation.
I'm speaking of 3 people, not 1.
Okay, well, I'm speaking of the total thing. But the answer is no, I wouldn't consider changing.
One of the things that you've said before, and you insinuated to tonight, actually, is that, you know, you're proud of it, you've done a great job, you know. Just so that you are aware, some of the people who are in these positions and that have been in these positions do in fact take offense to that. Because they feel that the work they were doing for 12, 10, 9, 5, 4 years is not being given the credit. just so that you are aware of that, we've got one of the men at the rec department who's been here for 4 years. $9.83 an hour. And he supervises an inmate crew just the same as the man who is making $19.67 an hour. There is a vast difference in pay scale, and I think that that is something that should be addressed and looked into, because it is creating dissension within your city employees.
Your concern is noted.
Changes, if there's a change in a classification in one of those numbers, it was just bringing it in line with what it actually was. So I don't know that last year's budget was actually correct, because we have a different accounting, because the court is a fund in and of itself, and the town only pays a portion of the expenses. So there's not been a new employee added, and no salaries have changed. The one change might be my insurance may have shifted into there
Okay.
from where it was in a different area.
Has the administration looked into the reduction of cost in contracting services like lawn care out? In this department alone, in salaries alone, we're paying $221,000, not including the rec department, just in street and sanitation, $221,000. Have y'all considered getting bids on contracting to save the town in both, in not just both, but in salaries, wages, benefits, maintenance of equipment, gasoline expenses, so forth and so on?
Yeah, I won't entertain that, but currently all the work's being done by prisoners. The only thing they're doing is getting a lunch paid for them on Fridays, and you just have inmates to watch them. Keep in mind all your city properties and how much property you're talking about. I'll be glad to get bids. I'll be glad to.
We have some missed revenue potential, in my opinion. Several departments in our town do have the potential to earn revenue, but none is being collected, or the revenues aren't collected at their full potential, including but not limited to animal control, code enforcement, rent collected on city-owned buildings who are leased to others, traffic tickets for the excessive speeding citywide. Have y'all visited with each of these department heads to discuss the missed potential for revenue?
Yes, we are. We are looking at this several, especially on leases. Looking at some that haven't been collected. And we're working on those. And we have sent letters to those people as we discover them, and send letters to them demanding payment. And that's in process. But as far as the collection of fines, and that's all through city court, police department.
I think it's my last. I've had several complaints recently regarding the lack of the backdoor service with our trash pickup. I'm not sure when exactly the service stopped, but it is noticeable to our residents. The consensus is that the amount of money that we pay for our services should allow for the service to be reinstated. Our services have slacked off, but our rates have not. Have you addressed this?
Lee, can you,
Our backdoor pickup has never stopped. We're still doing backdoor pickup. We're only 2 cities left in the state of Louisiana that offer backdoor service. Daddy is one of them, Pineville's the other one. We have not stopped backdoor pickup.
It has stopped at my house.
I will take care of
It
that
has
first
stopped
thing.
at a house, and I can give you names and addresses. I won't broadcast them here. It has stopped on Simonton. It has stopped on Miranda. It has stopped on Stewart.
I would just encourage you, when you get those calls, Alderman Dore, call City Hall. We'll make a phone call, and it's usually taken care of.
I passed it on.
Thank you. That's all I have. For now.
Alderman Cole?
No, indeed.
Alderman Betts?
Task here tonight is to amend the budget, and as you know, I was part of the previous administration, and one of the things that I pledged to do if I was returned to office was to be more physically responsible in the area of the finance. I am sit here blessed to be part of this council, so I don't take that lightly. I think that the proposed budget that has been presented after much work is not perfect, but I believe it's a start. And everyone that ran on the idea of being more physically responsible. This is the place to start. Now, we can fight over the incidentals later, but tonight the purpose of this is to begin to get our town in place to be more physically responsible. And so I support the proposed budget. If you look at it just on black and white numbers, you're going to see that there's going to be a difference made. And as has been said, not all the changes have been made, which will hopefully reduce what we have to spend, but there will be no decrease in what the citizens of our town enjoy right now. And so I support the proposed budget that we have here.
First of all, I would like to commend every employee here that works for the city of Vivian. I think that everybody does a great job. But I know if I was employed right now for the city of Vidalia, I would somewhat feel whether I'm gonna have my job or whether I'm not gonna have my job. I know today's meeting was pretty much about the budget and cuts and different things of that nature. I can attest that I get volumes of calls from diversity of people call in related to utilities. One month they may be lower, one month they may be higher. But as the alderman, I make contact with City Hall, finding out what can we do to help these people. What arrangements can we possibly do to not allowing these people to be turned out in the cold or in the heat or whatever so may be. I have, as far as went, as with one citizen of Vidalia who was staying in a home with no utilities, turned on elderly, I have made contact with the Louisiana Workforce Office out there to try to find funds to provide them with money to restore their services. I spoke with our city clerk who told me that their services was about $1,000 to be reconnected. After I found out how much the Louisiana Workforce would grant, then I also directed them to churches in the area that would also help out. I know and I feel like I try to do as much as I possibly can for the citizens in any part of Vidalia. As far as revenues for the, everybody spoke on the poor, the lower class people. I have also been looking into grants that can potentially help those people that can't use their own money to get their heater system fixed or don't have that extra money to get whatever the condition of the mayor stated earlier about that's the reason why their utilities bill is so high, because their home is not feasible to live in. So I have also went out to try to research and find different avenues for those people. One last thing before I end, as far as the service with the church, I commend you and I tell you, Joy, to continue to do that. Because if we don't keep God first in our town to service First Baptist or Mount Carmel, whatever that church may be, we're gonna lose the spirit of what we're here for. Yes, we do have to cut budgets. I totally agree upon that. But when you take God out of the plan of what you're trying to do, nothing's gonna end good on the end of the stick. I do commend the mayor and everybody that makes up and put this budget together. They can probably tell you that I may get on their nerves, because I stay up here 2 or 3 times. You would think that I work here part-time, and I'm here at City Hall more than I'm at my own job. And like I said, they can attest to that. But I'm up here sitting in meetings with them, looking over numbers that I have not looked over before, that's being brand new to me. And to go with $1.1 million save, I think that's tremendous, to be that we're only here and have been here for only 7 months. So I commend everybody that has worked and diligently to put this budget together. So I do support this budget as well.
I got a couple of things. One concern I have, some of them been covered already, but one of the concerns I have that I've seen in the budget that's out there is we have a disparity in administration or higher management as department heads, and the person under that department head, maybe their supervisor or whatever. Some are salary and some are hourly. And I have a concern about higher echelon employee in administration on an hourly wage instead of a salary wage. Can you tell me, Buzz, why that is, or are y'all looking into that?
It's gonna be a child's pleasure if y'all wanna switch them to a salary. I mean, in Lee's example, I mean, you put him on salary, but he's gonna be working hours past that as a complete different program. You'll have to address those things.
Well, that's something, I mean, but are y'all thinking, looking, is that a concern you have, is what I'm asking?
That's a concern that I think we will get our employee relation things in regards to overtime, time of service, vacation, all these things are gonna be, I hope, handled when we handle our employment. To do anything prior to that, I still think opens the town to a liability if someone were to contest it. I'm not saying they would, but you have that liability if somebody says, I was promised this. When we get the new personnel manual, put it in place, they will be given to it, we will adopt it, they will read it, they will sign off on it, and we will begin administering. And we still, there's gonna be some changes, true enough, but we also want to be completely fair to our good employees of our team.
Good. I mean, that's what I just want to be sure it was on the agenda, because that isn't something that I saw was a huge salary hourly when you pay a department head or somebody, the amount of money they make by hour and you get overtime on that's $50-some an hour. I mean, that's something I think, and as an administrator, I've known so many times in any company, they are expected to do that because they do make more. So I hope we do continue to look at that. The other thing I've got is an agreement. It's back to Bill. Bill, you handed me. I was very much. Oh, one other thing, incentive pay. I have concerns about budget that has incentive pay in here, and I want to ask you this: the overtime, hourly wage, overtime, complete overtime from last year, right? Every drop of overtime that was spent last year, and incentive pay is built into this budget, right?
Yes, I think we included that.
Everything that was spent is in this budget.
And we still have 1.1 million.
Okay. But as far as overtime, as we said, and you said you're gonna get that under control, so I'll accept the fact that you are gonna still look into that. What about the incentive pay? What's your intent? I asked the legislative auditor to give us a criteria that incentive pay can be paid on. This year, as an alderman, only in office 6 months, and I received in my check a $650 bonus as an alderman.
What bonus? Incentive?
Well, incentive pay. And it's got a long list of requirements to be able to give that incentive pay out. I work for the federal government. I had to do an incentive evaluation. And it states in here, the policy must reward actions that are unusual, extraordinary, unexpected, not observed otherwise by normal duties of an employee for the public benefit. States that in there. And you have to have a policy in place, and you must have concise, I guess, written form or whatever to do that. Well, I received that when I was on Friday, and on Monday I brought it back and gave that $650 bonus back, or I say incentive pay, I'm sorry, back. Because I was never evaluated. I didn't think I did anything extraordinary, so I got a concern with that. And I think, and you look at the aldermen in this group, they did. Some of them did, gave back that, because we didn't know whether it was legally done, and we didn't want anything, not to say we're criminal in it, I'm just saying I had concerns about accepting that money. And I think, and looking at the printout I had, I think Alderman Doré gave that money back, right?
I did.
Alderman Betts, who is a former alderman, and he, I think, had concerns also, and I'm gonna address this to Alderman Betts. Alderman Betts, you gave yours back this time, did you give it back in the past?
No.
Why did you give it back this time? I just wonder, what were your concerns that you returned it, is what I'm asking?
Well, I don't believe that, I returned it this time because of, personal, and I never wanted it, in the past. Did I take it? Yes, I took it. I don't know where you're going.
I just asked.
With this slam. But wait, I'll answer. But I consider, please.
That's all I'm asking, this is an attorney question.
Please wait. I considered it part of my pay. I did not consider it an incentive. I just considered it part of my pay.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Okay.
I don't have to any more than why, and I'm asking you, did you feel any reason other than that to return it, is what I'm asking.
In the past, I tried to return it.
Good, that's all I need to know.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't ask any more than, we didn't know because we were new. We asking you and you were not. So, and I agree, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. If I find out it's legal, I told Buzz today, didn't I? I want my $650 back.
Too late, you done donated it back.
Okay. I'm not gonna,
I would like to make this comment.
I don't feel like I've done, I want to serve the people, and I don't need that to be given me. Thank you very much. And these other guys, that's okay, I don't have a problem with that.
I think, there may be something that needs to be addressed by me.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I kept mine. And if I would have thought it was legal, I would have asked for that you turn back in.
I'm going on my building.
Because, see, when it's flooding, I'm in your district. I'm besides some of these guys with these uniforms on, making sure that the barricade, I ain't got too good for none of that. I'm regular, but I just happen to be sitting up here. Like, I'm regular. I don't think if you poll many of these people, they start throwing money back at people. So
I didn't want to.
I commend you.
I didn't want to.
For making a not so good move.
Probably not, since I ain't getting it back, I give it back.
Yeah. And
But that's okay.
You should. See, I did this job when it was $200. I sat beside a man for a bunch of years who got paid $50 for it.
I agree.
I remember when the mayor was making less than 30. See?
I agree.
And we still
I
had
don't have a problem with
the best interest of the
And you
people
ran for
at
that
all.
office because you said that's what you want to do for that money, and I understand.
No, it wasn't about the money, it was about those people.
Oh, I understand, and
That
that's
needed
why I'm
somebody
here.
like me to say the things that need to be said, to address people who would say inappropriate things about people who could not
I agree.
have a vote.
I agree with you, John.
That's why.
I agree.
That's why I continue.
And I know
to
you
lead.
do.
And that's why I had one term.
I know.
And I let a lot of that past administration stuff slide. But we ain't never stopped running. This city has been.
That's right.
You know, the logo used to say city on the move. And I remember when a lot of things that's going on now weren't. We couldn't talk about triad. You think you would be sitting in this room talking about police officers if Chief Thornhill or even Chief Hammond were talking about police officers not being visible in the community? That's an abomination. That ought to be against some written
That's
law
why,
somewhere.
one reason I did the same thing, I wanted to hear it.
I bet everybody on the board, when it came up about the backdoor pickup, I was sitting amongst friends, and I'm saying, ain't no way in the world, there's no way in this world that the people are gonna wanna pay this increase for that backdoor pickup.
Right.
Guess what?
They paid.
I lost. And you're not spoiled. You're not spoiled.
That's right.
And don't, you deserve to live this life in fidelity, in a good economic situation. If backdoor pickup is what we offer, backdoor pickup is what you get. Don't consider yourself spoiled because you see a police car passing by. That's just good policing. That's what we do. Don't get offended because we got a fire truck that might be a little bit too big for the buildings that we got now. Now, we steady growing. We steady growing. Things happen. You want to wait until we get that too big building and then go try to get that fire truck? That sometimes, and I give Mayor Copeland credit, sometimes you got to kind of think outside the box a little bit and worry about y'all. And okay, we'll get these straight. Deborah does a great job. I get more emails from Deborah Moe than almost at work. She sends me everything that happens. Everything that comes up, she sends it to me. She gives me heads up, like, guess what's coming? You need to pay attention to this. So, these numbers, they are critical. But I go back to what I said. If the people aren't safe, that's those guys back there. If y'all aren't safe, we can close the door on the rest of it. We worry about my auntie and her utility bill being too high. But she can't pay her utility bills. And she has to make this decision between her utility bill and her medicine. That's what we ought to be talking about. That's what we ought to fuss about. We ought to fuss about somebody that just started working and making a preacher. I'm through.
Can I address Tony's question, because I think there's a little bit of input I could give you on the incentive part.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about this today or not. If I repeat myself, I apologize. But in the handbook, the employee handbook that y'all are gonna get,
Right.
that we took and we went through, we didn't change anything from what the labor lawyers sent us as a guide. We just made suggestions about, based on what the practice is now or what we feel would be a good idea. Part of it is addressing the incentive pay and stipulating sort of what, like you got there,
Like what's in the attorney.
spelling out what people need to do to be qualified for the incentive pay. It's gonna be a burden. I shouldn't make it sound like it's hardship, but the department heads are gonna have the responsibility of verifying that and showing that they are doing these things for the incentive pay. If somebody does nothing other than just regular mundane work, regular stuff, then they won't qualify.
Well, that was my fear.
Mundane work when you come to work every day.
Mine's mundane lots of times.
You're a trash guy.
I didn't say trash.
That was my.
What's that?
You say you're unnecessary, huh?
No, I said it's mundane sometimes. It's a
Well,
lot
I'm
of.
saying, what is mundane in the street department when these guys come to work and they do the same thing every day? And it's about picking up trash and you're gonna ask Lee to say whether.
I'm not
that guy-
belittling, you're misunderstanding my comment.
No, but I'm voting against that policy manual where he's gonna have to say that Joe Blow did a little better job than Willie.
It's not about their job. It's not
How's
about,
what you're
incentive pay
saying?
is not,
You
incentive
heard
pay.
about evaluations the other day. and-
That's the difference though, Ron.
That's a-
Evaluation is a whole different, this is incentive pay, and it's
It's just
stated out by the Attorney General.
Put an evaluation on their service. on
No, it
that
has to
work.
be, if, evaluation should be done, yes, in my opinion, but that's not my point to make. But incentive is a different whole deal, and that's my concern. And I told Bill, and I think I told Buzz, when I returned mine, I had a concern because nobody evaluated me. Nobody did anything, so I had a concern with that. That's plain and simple why I did it.
The
And that's what I told
mayor,
him.
the mayor called me a week, telling me different names, that check was gonna be called. I called it one thing, cash.
I got one more thing. Right. This is dealing with something we met on the other night, on Tuesday night. Cooperative endeavors, agreements, or whatever we got. And one of my concerns is if we budget what we have in a certain department, that we may not be, and you stated it had to be legal, it had to be voted on, and specific things in that agreement, what was it, the word, what was it? Cooperative endeavor, that cooperative endeavor that you said that we had to come up with. So, and I want to ask you this, in the agreement, and I'm asking, have we got an agreement that's supposed to be in place with the police jury, rec board, and the city of Vidalia at this point? Do we have an agreement that has been voted upon by the city of Vidalia?
There's an agreement in place. I do not know what other arrangements were made. However, going forward from here, what's in the past is the past, but going forward, if we enter into anything new, we're going to research if we have to do a cooperative endeavor agreement and do it the right way. That's not to, in my opinion, to nullify things that were done prior and the things the way they're situated now.
Okay, now that's why I asked you, didn't answer my question. I said, have we got it and it's been voted upon?
We haven't voted on it.
No, not us. This is a past agreement back in 2013, according to the affidavit that was given to me. I asked for this agreement way back in March, and I never got it until Bill, who went through a lot of, he gave it to me, 3 weeks ago, Bill? Finally, I got it about 3 weeks ago, and it was an affidavit.
But you didn't ask for me before that.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I just asked you. I said, I've been asking about this. Have you? Well, I got it. So he gave it to me. And it was not the actual agreement. It's the affidavit, right?
Right.
And then,
Well, it was both.
no, it was an affidavit.
Okay, I don't know.
According to what it was an affidavit. It was an affidavit saying that this was the agreement.
That's right.
And then, but it wasn't signed, was it?
The
Nothing
affidavit,
was
of
signed.
the agreement wasn't.
So the agreement wasn't signed, no, but the affidavit was signed by the parties that were involved. Then I went through research at the police jury. I went up to the police jury just to research because I'd asked the rec board for that agreement and I never got it. So I went to the police jury and went through their minutes all the way to 2010.
I don't want to shut you down here, but right now it's getting late. Look, that's a different thing.
Buzz, that is involving budget, and I would like to continue.
I understand it involving.
It was involving budget, and I would like to
Well,
continue.
if you're not for the agreement that we've got now, vote no.
I'm asking you a simple question, Buzz. Is there agreement, one more time, and is it voted upon by the city of Vidalia, aldermen in the past, or not?
There's
Is
an
there or not?
agreement, there's an agreement that is signed. Was it approved by the alderman? I don't know.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. Why can't I continue my discussion concerning this budget? Because now you're asking me to pass a budget that includes this agreement, and there is an agreement between certain individuals, but there's not an agreement that states in this affidavit, right, Bill? That states there's agreement between the city of Vidalia, the rec board, and one individual. Is that what this affidavit says? One individual. Even if the agreement is involved there, and it's true, and we have it, and this affidavit is real, then what I want to know is, why are we budgeting for more than what the affidavit and the cooperative endeavor or agreement, this says this is an employment participation agreement, as what it's titled as in this affidavit that I have, that states something between the rec board, police jury, and an individual. It doesn't state it between any other entities. And you said the other night that that endeavor has to be legally voted upon, because I asked you, it had to be voted upon, and it had to be passed by the board, and it has to be specific in nature. Is that true?
In this particular situation, I don't know, I might have to get a ruling, but here, let me.
Okay, but I'm asking you, okay, that's why I wanted to know. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Let me answer you, don't talk over me when I start, let me finish, don't agree with me. We have our recreational complex right out here, and if you're not part of that, regardless of whether it's budget, the money was budgeted for, it was in this budget that that you're gonna vote no on tonight, from what I understand, that has it in there. Okay? Now, what you're asking basically is our involvement in the recreational complex. And I want to be able to say how I feel about this without any interruption, and I want our people on it to really take this in. Starting now in February, all the way through November, you can go down this highway and these lights are on and these parking lots are full of our families, not just here, but all over our parish, Natchez, all over, come here for this complex. The director of this complex, I take my hat off to him, and like he says often, he'll say it. People aren't coming here because of him, or me, or you, or anybody else. They're coming here for that complex. And it is full of people, and what we have invested, and this is what was budgeted, and I fully support and want to support more, because for that money that we spend, which is around, it nets out between $180,000 to $190,000 out of a $30 million budget, for the only thing that brings our community together, other than our high school games and stuff, and organized leagues, and have people come into our town that not only use this facility that is first class and maintained, it is an asset to our town, a $6 million asset that we cannot, I feel, we have to support. The rec department, the agreement was from the beginning that they could not accomplish this without this help. I do not advocate us getting involved in the leagues or the rec board's business, but I do believe in our involvement in maintaining those fields and walking away from it and having someone direct the use of that facility, which not only includes that facility, it includes the soccer fields, it includes the ponds, it includes the tennis courts, and the maintenance of all this stuff, which is very crucial. And to me, that is a small price to pay. And you might say that's not even a price, because you cannot count the number of people that have come into this town. They are spending their money buying gas, stopping at convenience stores, stopping to eat, supporting your business, paying sales tax, and everything else, staying in your hotel. Virgil Jackson, on those days they have tournaments, he's booked. He's booked. And you get revenue off that. And I guarantee, if you could do the numbers of what we receive for that amount of money, and I will say this, whatever it takes for us to keep it going like it is, let's make it right if it ain't right. Let's sign a deal with it.
Go ahead, are you in, have my rebuttal on that?
Yes or no, are you in support of the recreation the way we have it now?
No, because if we don't have an agreement, I can't support
If
something
the agreement
because
was
you
in place, would you sign it?
Am I gonna, now you're talking over me. You asked me a question, can I answer the question? So I guess that's only right, since how you asked me a question, and now you told me don't talk over you. I'm not gonna be like that and tell you not to talk over me. Let me talk. So, I asked you one question and one question only. Do we have an agreement? And you said,
There's an
we
agreement
do,
in
but you're
place.
not sure.
There's an agreement in place.
Okay, and I said there was an affidavit that says that agreement is in place between those people entities. I'm not against supporting that. I'm not. But I want it legally done, as you stated in the meeting the other day, when I said it had to be voted upon, and I want to have a new assessment of power and again, I say, go back to the board, and this is only if it's not in place. And if it is in place, then let's look at what we need to do to improve it, if we can afford it, or not. That's all I asked you about. I didn't ask you for that long term. I asked you simple questions with simple answers of, have we got it? Who's it between? And has it been voted on? And that's all I needed to know, because then I know if we don't have it, we do need to go back and do that. And if we don't have it, and if it is something that is in place and it's only between one individual, then we need to improve that, because we've got 3 individuals over there now. That's my point. That's legality. Is that right, Judge Murphy? Is that more of a legality question?
Alderman Probst, I've been trying to follow this, but I have to admit, it's a little hard.
There's an affidavit and an agreement between 3 entities. We now have 4 people over there, with 3.5, I guess, but it only includes
Are you talking about employees?
yes. But it says we would have 1 employee over there, which is good. We got to have somebody to support that thing, because I agree with Buzz. We do have to have somebody, but we need to make this legal. If this is an affidavit, if this is something, and we need to revisit it as an old administration agreement.
Yeah, well, you know,
if it was in
that's
place.
something I'd have to see the paperwork and see the
Right.
background and all
You
that.
hadn't seen it.
And I hadn't
Scott
seen
had
that,
it. You know,
so.
Scott said he had it. Bill's read over it. But that's my question is, that is what I want to do. I want to revisit this. And if it's not there, put it in place.
Alderman Probst, I don't think that's got anything to do with the budget tonight. If you think that something's not being done correctly, that can be addressed at any time.
But if I approve this, is that what I'm saying? Am I approving to say this is legal or not legal? You know, that's what
Nobody can say that tonight because nobody's researched it.
Okay, I got it. That's my question.
I don't want to get the vote on the budget convoluted with something that I think most of us are in support, and that's recreation. And let's not miss the 10 trillion other points that were made up here tonight, and hang this whole budget on how you feel about recreation.
I make a motion that we adopt the amended budget.
I second that motion.
Motion made by Alderman Betts, second by Alderman Gardner. All in favor, raise your hand.
Like a roll call, please, Mayor.
Roll call. Okay, roll call. We'll start with Alderman Probst.
Thomas President.
No.
What is your vote?
No, oh, no.
What's your vote?
No.
4. Against.
Against.
Okay. Budget's not approved.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.